Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. We're going to shift gears and head to the NBA. We got a big one on Saturday night, and you'd be surprised when we say Utah and the Clippers is a big one, but this is a big one for playoff positioning. The upstart Utah Jazz, a team that I have liked all year. They're playing great basketball. They fly under the radar because they're in the Western Conference, where you're behind a team like the Golden State Warriors, San Antonio Spurs, and the Houston Rockets. But right now, we're taping on Wednesday. They own the 4th seed, but they are holding on by a fingernail, basically. They've got a half-game lead on the Clippers for that 4th and final home game first-round playoff spot. So the 4-5 seed is always interesting. You want that home court advantage in that first round. Ralph, I'll start with you. Looking at this one, the line on this one's probably going to be the Clippers, 4.5 projecting on this one. How do you see this one for Saturday night?
You know, we're filming on Wednesday, and as of Wednesday, Utah has a half-game lead. And that was a 3.5-game lead just a week ago. Utah has lost 3 straight games. The Clippers have won their last 3. But Utah has had a brutal schedule. When I went back and looked, they're playing 18 straight games before they play 2 games at home. They played a 3-game road trip, 1 at home. Went on the road, 1 at home. Went on the road, 1 at home. So they haven't played, they're not going to play consecutive home games the entire month of March after the first 2 games. So that's why their last 9 road games, they're giving away the ball 15 times, 15 turnovers a game. Their last 5 games, they're only 8 turnovers a game. They're only forcing 8, so they're -7 turnovers in that range. They went to Chicago, Cleveland, and Indiana. They only shot 42%. All of those are things that can be fixed with a little practice and rest. What I like about Utah is this. Prior to the 3-game road trip, they were 6-1. Their only loss to Oklahoma State. When I look at the Clippers and their 3-game win streak, they're only 5-4 their last 9. Their 3-game win streak came against Cleveland, who rested everyone, the Lakers, and the Knicks. Their 4th win was against Philly. Their only playoff team in their last 9 games they beat was Memphis, sans Cleveland not playing anyone. So I think Utah, when you match these 2 teams up, has a fixable situation. They know how to play defense, obviously. They're always the best defensive team in the league, or fewest points allowed. And I think that kind of game on the road, when they have a couple days off now in between games, and a feel-good win against New York tonight when we're filming on Wednesday, I like them plus the
Hopefully
points.
They get that feel-good win tonight. You're going to look really bad.
I'm going to go on the limb. Here we go.
Okay. Tony, and I'll point out, you said a 3-game road trip. It was actually a 4-game road trip for Utah. It was 4 games in 6 nights.
And they won the first and lost the last 3. Correct, my mistake.
And that is just, a horrible spot to be playing 4 games in 6 days, especially when you're in a different city every single night. That takes its toll. Tony, how are you looking at this one?
Well, I'll preface, I've had a hard time getting a hold and a good feel on Utah. This is a team that you like to believe they're going to have an advantage at altitude in Salt Lake City. They have, and I don't have the exact numbers, but I believe over their last 11 or 12 home games, they're 3-7 and 3-8 against the spread. I container Utah more as an Eastern Conference. If you want to stereotype teams as a Western Conference being a little bit up-tempo, Eastern being a little more defensive and physical. I put Utah a little bit more in the Eastern Conference. They've really struggled against not only the Clippers, but against the Western Conference. I think coming into their last time they played Utah, this is when I studied that game, they were about 6-20 against the spread against Western Conference teams, and just about as bad percentage-wise against Pacific teams. So if you put a gun to my head and made me pick this game, I'm probably going to take the Clippers at home. The 3 times they've played this year, the Clippers had won 2 games where they scored 88 points. In the first 2 they'd won. Both times they've won in Utah. And the last time Utah tried to change the scheme a little bit and go more up-tempo, and they scored 100 and still got beat.
No, actually, Utah won the last game.
They did.
Utah won the last game.
Okay.
114 to 108.
I apologize. You're right.
Yeah, this is their 3rd game in the last 20 for the teams.
Yeah.
Both of those previous at Utah where they split.
Yeah, in the situation, I'm going to look at this one here. The point about them not covering the spread as much at home recently is the league is starting to catch up to Utah. They're laying bigger numbers now, where at the beginning of the season they were totally undervalued. The point I'm going to go with this one, and those first two games, the scores were 88-72 and 88-75. Very low scoring games, and that is where Utah likes to play. Utah is the slower paced team. I think we're going to go back to that. And I'm hoping, because the Clippers have had some recent blowouts where they've scored. Last night they scored 133 points, which, thank you, I was on them last night. They were able to do that. And they've had monster leads early that they've rested the starters basically the entire fourth quarter. So they're playing absolutely no defense at all in those games, and the scores are getting even higher than a game that's meaningful where you are contesting every possession. I think because the last game did go so far over the total with the 114-108, we're going to see a total of around 200, 202 in this one. And if I get anything at 200 or more, I'm going with the under. This is going to revert back, I think, to the first two games where it's going to be a lower scoring game, because this game Saturday in LA is going to have it's going to feel like a playoff game. This is a game that if the Clippers come in here trailing by one game, if Utah wins tonight over the Knicks like they're supposed to, they're going to be trailing them by one. They don't want to be trailing them by two, and then plus if they lose, they're going to end up being 2-2 on the season, so they lose the tiebreaker. So it'll be an important game for the Clippers. I think you'll see them come to play defense as well. And I like this one under the total. Look for a slower pace with how much meaningful this game is. If you're playing the game, Ralph, where were you at?
I like your underthought totally, and I'm going to take the better defense as a dog. And, you know, we talked about the spread, and like you said, Utah was a favorite in a lot of those games. Yeah. And when you're scoring in the 90s and you're laying points, it's tough to cover. Getting points is a different story for me.
All right, so Tony's got a lean to the Clippers. We got a lean to the dog, and I've got a lean to the under for Saturday night. In this, actually, it's Saturday afternoon at 3:30. Clippers and the Jazz. And guys, if you want to save $10 this weekend, use coupon code SWEET16. SWEET16 will get you $10 off any package this weekend. Check it out at wagertalk.com. We'll be back with more at Wager Talk.